Welcome to Can TV Let's Talk Etiquette. My name is Nathan Wright, and I'm a returning host of Let's Talk Etiquette. My very special guest for the next three shows has a wealth of skills, knowledge, and accomplishments that, in our opinion, places him in a class all by himself. His name is George Edward Manning II, and he had the benefit of having two exceptional parents to guide him in his formative years, both socially, culturally, and artistically. He is an accomplished musician, trained in the School of Classical Music. He plays the piano, violin, and organ, to name just a few instruments he has mastered. In addition, Mr. Manning is a composer and a director of a number of noted theatrical productions. He is also a linguist, which is just exceptional in itself. I think you speak 3, 4, 5 languages?
Maybe one half language well.
Okay. Okay. He passed upon the opportunity to attend Harvard or Yale, but chose to attend Ripon College in Ripon, Wisconsin. You may not have ever heard of it, but it's an exceptional school. And I can go on for another 10 minutes giving our audience a complete overview of his history and accomplishments. But our show is only 28 minutes long, therefore I will continue enlightening our audience on our Part 2 show set for next Wednesday. But our subject for this show is etiquette. How would you define the word both from a personal standpoint as well as from a professional standpoint? And the floor is yours.
The question is more difficult than it sounds. Etiquette basically is manners and morals put together, but I call them more practical guidelines, options, choices that embrace our human endeavor, social constructs. It deals with our polite and realistic and repetitive motions and things that we do in our lives. And these actions are generally thoughtful, polite, and unintrusive.
Yes, yes.
So that is, for right now, a brief.
Yes, yes.
I should also say that etiquette goes into every aspect of our life, whether it's as we dine,
Yes,
as we present ourselves to see other people,
yes,
the way we drive our cars, the
Yes.
way we walk across the street,
yes,
the way we greet people who are like us or unlike us. So etiquette has a lot of parameters, a lot of parents, a lot of parentheses
yes,
involved in what etiquette means. A lot of people might think it's just highfalutin, snooty, and just, princely. But it has nothing to do with that.
yes.
It's simple rules that help us to let the person in front of us know
Yes,
that we respect them.
yes, yes. So what do you see as the foundational rules that you would have to understand in order to conduct yourself in that manner? What are is it caring for people? That's the foundation of one of them. Is it for respect for other people? So how do I show respect? Or how do I present myself in a way that's acceptable according to the rules of our society? How do you see that?
I know in production it's important to look at the camera so that your viewer knows that I respect them. But that you've asked me the question, I have to direct my vision toward you
Okay.
because you're not invisible.
Right.
And so oftentimes etiquette has to do with spatial, what we're doing with the person who is closest to us,
Okay.
and how that perception bears light to the people who see their inaction.
Yes, yes, yes. And so, and there are situations for which I'm sure you encounter all the time where somebody may be a little rude or a little obnoxious. And how do you react to someone that's carrying on like that, presenting themselves in that fashion?
Well, you shouldn't be extreme in your approach to the person.
Right. Okay.
I did something that was rude about a few years ago. There was a flash mob on Michigan Avenue,
Oh, okay.
and about 500 people came together because of the internet and the phone.
Of course, yes.
And the young woman cursed at me and asked me what the so-and-so I was looking at.
Okay.
And it frightened me. And so I said, absolutely nothing.
Right.
So she was of the impression that I said, I'm looking at nothing.
Right.
But I really said an insult. I'm looking at you, and what you're doing
Yes.
is a zero factor
Right,
now.
right. Yes, yes. And you having to deal with that situation rather spontaneously, actually.
It was
You
frightening.
you weren't anticipating anything of that nature.
No.
Right. It's just the opposite. Etiquette is just the opposite of being aggressive, isn't it?
It is.
You can't be an etiquette person or etiquette-minded person and have this kind of aggression in you. Do you agree with that?
I agree.
Yes. So there are situations that you encounter and have encountered that require you to use some etiquette tech in order to navigate that situation. Can you think of any that come to mind that you were in a situation where you had to, of course, continue to be polite and courteous, but use some tech in terms of how you reacted to the person that you felt was a little out of line?
Well, I wear this pen all the time,
Okay.
and it's a gift.
Okay.
And when I was younger, 15, 16, 17, I was playing violin downtown, and sometimes at a hotel I was invited to a reception. I've played for 3 United States presidents and also for the Queen of England. And so sometimes, I'm downtown at a hotel and someone will come up to me and say, would you take my luggage up to my room? And I say, I'd be glad to. So I would take the luggage up to the room, and then I would wait for the person because I had the luggage and the purse, and the person would come and they would give me $5, let's say. And I would say, this is $20 you owe me. And they said, we're going to tell the management.
Right.
I said, you can tell them, but I am not a bellhop. I am a guest at the hotel.
Right.
And the people would say, I'm so sorry. I said, I'm still waiting for the $20.
Make you mad.
And I would go home and I would tell the story. And my mother and father said, stop that. George, stop that.
Right.
And it happened more often than not back in the day.
Absolutely.
So eventually my parents came up with the idea. They gave me this pen and they said, for the most part, there are 20 or so fake diamonds.
Right.
And there is one real diamond.
Yes.
Make sure that you're real. And this pen will keep people from asking you to carry their luggage. But also remember, you are not a servant to anyone.
Yes.
But you're also important in your life to know service and to serve your mankind.
Yes. Absolutely.
And so finally I found the real diamond. I segregated it. And,
Okay.
And but
That's a very nice pen.
yeah.
But tell us about your parents. Let's start talking about them because they're just such an exceptional people.
Well,
Your father's history, maybe a brief on that.
my father was in the Negro Leagues.
Okay, baseball.
Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he began. He was born in Mississippi, and he was adopted.
One of my home states.
And so he was born in 1900, so if he were living now, he would be 121 years old.
Yes.
He was one generation away from slavery. I'm second generation, because I was born when he was 50.
Right.
So only my father and I bump up against the Emancipation Proclamation.
Right. One generation away.
One generation. My mother was born. Here's a picture of Dad.
Yes, let's show you that. Let's see, yes.
Oh, no,
So,
let's see
I
that.
think that could be seen, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. You told me maybe you'd ask me.
Yes.
And here's a picture of Mother.
Yes.
And Mother is 15 years younger than Father. And she was born in Dixon, Illinois. And
yes. Beautiful lady. Beautiful.
beautiful. And
Dixon.
Dixon.
Yes.
And my mother would help a neighbor, Ronnie, with his homework.
Okay.
And they felt sorry for Ronnie because Ronnie was a Democrat. And
Okay.
maybe your audience doesn't know, but all African Americans were Republican
At that time.
at that time.
From slavery.
Right? Abraham Lincoln freed us,
Right.
so-called,
Right.
and Jesus saved us.
Right.
And Ronnie was a Democrat. And so his best friend was our cousin Winston McReynolds.
Okay.
And so my mother would help, even though she was younger than Ronnie, with his homework. Anyway, Ronnie turned out to be our president, Ronald Reagan. Mother's from Dixon, Illinois.
Right.
And they felt sorry for Ronnie because he was a Democrat
Right.
and poor.
And poor, right.
Okay. My father met
So your
my
mother,
mother.
so your mother actually taught Ronald Reagan.
Well, he had trouble with homework every now and then. But
So-
they were both students at Dixon High School.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, my father would stop in Dixon and stay with her parents, my grandparents,
Okay.
because African American people could not live in hotels.
During that
And
period.
so during
yes.
that period. And so that's how he met my mother. And she
okay.
was 5 and he was 20.
Okay.
And then,
they hit it off some kind of way.
well,
So
you're
here.
I'm here. And as years went by, he wanted to date her later on.
Okay.
Because he hadn't seen her in 10 years, 12 years.
Right.
But she knew he was married and she had nothing to do with him.
Right.
But my grandfather, her father liked him.
Okay.
Sit on the porch, have tea. But
Yes.
she said, nothing doing.
Right.
You're married. No, I'm divorced. That's worse yet.
Right.
And my wife is dead. Oh, did you kill her? So mother was not acting with much etiquette, but she was determined that she needed an answer. He said, well, the reason I divorced my wife was because she would go to Paris and stay there. Well, 3 months. It took 3 months to get there, 3 months to get back, and you stayed 3 months. And she did that for 14 years.
Oh wow! So they weren't
They weren't really
married,
right. And he said, maybe you would like to marry a guy named Pierre if I divorce you. And
Right.
she said, well, who will you marry? Esmeralda? Because he would go to Cuba.
Right.
Story's much too long, but anyway, they married on his 40th birthday.
Wow.
My mother said she did not love him; she respected him. That's a part of.
Yes. At that time, that was important.
You need to know who the person is, not that they're attractive, but that they are poised to be
Yes.
polite
Yes.
and forthwith with
Yes.
their answers. And she
Yes.
learned to love him immediately.
Yes.
She said because of his wisdom, his physical beauty,
Yes.
and his ability to express himself.
Yes. But that wasn't that unusual during that period,
No.
though. I mean, for the separation of age.
Exactly.
In that regard.
That was typical.
Yes, very typical. Yes. And your father, did he ever play in the professional league?
He was in the Negro Leagues. He was with the Memphis Red Sox. And then later he became the Armour Stars manager. He worked for Armour and Company, and he helped to combine AFL to CIO. The different
so
unions.
He was in union movement.
Exactly.
That was a very important period in our history.
Exactly.
Yes. So how did I'm assuming your mom did most of your teaching when it came to manners.
No, they did it together.
Oh, okay. I'm assuming he was at work and you were at home and she would tell you, no, that's not the right way.
She was busy. They would leave me at home at the age of 3 to take care of myself. They would be in prison today, probably. But
so what was it? She worked also?
She worked, but she works at certain jobs that she could come home and be with me. But I spent time at home alone, watching Ding Dong School, the equivalent of Sesame Street.
Right.
But I was taught, we never had plastic on the furniture.
Okay.
Because the feet weren't on the furniture.
Oh, yes. This was in the 50s, I'm thinking.
I was born in 1949, yes.
Okay, so this is in
Early
the 50s.
50s.
Right. Yes, because plastic was popular.
Right.
And even plastic in your car seats.
Exactly.
Right.
I tell this story about etiquette. When my parents left home to do whatever they were going to do, my sister's older for a few years.
Okay.
And I said to Marianne, I said, Mary, would you get those glasses out of the cabinet? Because she was taller.
Right.
So she brought down my parents' crystal glasses. I was going to make chocolate milk and boil milk and stir chocolate in it. And
Right.
I did that. And by the time I poured in the glass, bing, the glass would break. I thought, oh my goodness, 2 more Marys. So bing, bing. So I broke up about a dozen glasses. And then I said, get those. So she brought down a different shape, like, bong, bong.
Okay.
Well, finally, after 24, 25, 26 glasses, I was able to keep the milk, the chocolate milk that I had boiled in the glass. And that was because what? The milk had cooled.
Right.
And then my parents came in, we were knee deep in chocolate milk and glass. And you know what my parents did? Everybody.
They were very unhappy.
No, they were not.
What?
I've never received a spanking. Their etiquette is no spanking. You see so many children being jerked around, spanked,
Yes.
called names.
Yes.
And they're 4 years old.
Yeah, hollered at.
Hollered at.
Mm-hmm.
So a parent's etiquette, I never got a spanking.
Wow.
I'm not saying that I didn't deserve it, but they came and they grabbed me, can I touch you? And they said, could you forgive us, please, for not serving you in these glasses with a beverage they were intended to be. These are water glasses.
Yes.
And when you get older, you put champagne in those.
And
For the 4 or 5 glasses that we have left, we're going to have our dinners with those, if you don't mind. That's the beginning of etiquette.
Yes. So they didn't scold you because you were doing what only a 4 or 5-year-old would normally do.
They would do better if they knew better. That's an expression.
Yes. And you received a lesson.
I received a lesson.
Right. So you didn't do that again.
I didn't do that again.
And you didn't have to be whipped or
No.
scolded or screamed at or
No.
any of that.
No.
Well, that's unusual. Do you think who do you think had the most influence? Was it your father or your mother, or was it kind of equal?
Both. And when boys get to be a certain age, they kind of navigate to the mother. And the father doesn't count. You can go.
Right. Because it's always mama now.
It's mama.
Right.
It's sort of
Did you call her mama or mother?
I call her mom.
Mom, okay.
Or mother.
Okay.
Mother in polite settings.
Right,
This is my mother.
Right,
But I call her mom and
at home. Yes.
at home.
Okay.
Father, mother, mom,
Yes.
dad.
Yes.
And so they had decided, because I was going through an Oedipal thing, that I should go with my father on a long trip, which I did.
Oh, okay.
And
so where did y'all go?
Well, I didn't know at the time where we were going, but it was a long train, and the train ride took 2 or 3 days to get there. When we got there, I said to my father, and I was 13 or so, I said, Daddy, is it time to go home yet? He says, baby, we just got here. He kissed me on the lips.
Right.
My father was very, he's
right. Affectionate.
very affectionate.
Yes.
So we walked across this huge lawn.
Mm-hmm.
And then a man said, I have a dream, I have a dream, I have a dream. He had taken me to the March on Washington, which he helped with the unions. So it was not a march for freedom. If you look at any of the film, it was a march for jobs, AFL-CIO.
Right. All the union heads
were
up around.
Exactly.
Right,
and so that's where we went. And I said to my father, he's redundant. He said, I have a dream 13 times. And my father said, you just listen. I think it's going to be an important speech one day.
Right. And it is.
And so by hanging out with father, I learned about certain things.
Yes.
Hanging out with mother, I learned about other things.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So you would say your life in terms of good manners and culture came from both of your
Both
parents.
of them.
And so when it comes to your father's family, did you see that kind of likeness in his family?
I'd never met his family.
You never met your father's family?
I never
his
met
father, his mom?
He was adopted by the sheriff of the Mississippi town of Gunnison. And because things were so bad in the South, his father had died. My father had his own car since age 15. And wherever my father drove in Gunnison, that's where they made roads. because everybody else was carriages and horse.
Oh, okay. Was it a white family or a
No,
black
it was a
family?
black family and a beautiful
Okay.
family, and I know stories of them.
Oh, okay.
And his mother was Rachel, and her first name was Rachel. We Mother Rachel. But I never met her because in those days my father said, if you go down to Mississippi, you will be the next Emmett Till. Because you would say, I want that. And
Yes.
they'd say, give me something other than I asked for.
Right.
And then that would be where it hits the fan.
Oh, okay. You did not know how to behave according to the Southern rules
Exactly.
of behavior for a Negro.
Exactly.
Yes. And did your parents ever say anything to you about never look a white person in the eye?
Never.
And
Never.
But you know, it was one of the rules, right, for a black
Well, I didn't
boy.
know, and so when I went to college, I didn't go to Harvard, I didn't go to Princeton, I didn't go to Dartmouth, Yale.
Right.
I went to Ripon.
Yeah. And how did that come about? I mean, considering where is it at? Ripon,
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
It turns out to be the birthplace of the Republican Party.
Oh,
Ripon, Wisconsin. But
okay.
anyway, I go there, and my parents asked me, what made you decide not to go to Harvard or to Yale? Could you tell us?
Right.
I said, well, that's simple. You should know that. And so
What'd you tell
I
them?
said, you read the letter, didn't you? And I got a letter from Ripon.
Okay.
And it said, Dear George, we are ecstatic that you have accepted Ripon. We look forward to seeing you. Do not bring any memorabilia from high school.
Right.
That's high school.
Right.
This is college.
Yes.
We look forward to meeting your parents.
Yes.
And it was a wonderful letter. Harvard
So
said,
Okay,
you're
tell us
number
that.
33 and you need some extra work on your math. Or Yale said, report by such and such a date.
Right.
But
Kind of
Ripon-
talking down to you.
Exactly, but
Instead of-
Ripon was wonderful.
Yes.
So when I got to, they understood.
Right.
So when I got to Ripon, I got a job in the AAA office, admissions, alumni, and advancement. Advancement means how you get the money.
Right.
And they set me in front of a huge machine back in 1966.
Okay.
And all I had to do was look at a name and
Yes.
type in Nathan Wright.
Okay.
We are ecstatic that you have chosen. Do not bring high school memorabilia. We look forward to meeting your parents.
Right.
I thought that letter was personal.
Right.
And
It
in
was.
etiquette, things have to feel personal.
Right. Ah,
I thought
yes.
that was a personal letter to me.
Right.
But no, I had a list of 50 names.
Right.
So that was my first encounter with.
But the difference in the attitude and the letters that you received from Harvard and those places were like looking down at
And
you.
it was crude.
Right. Rude and crude.
Rude and crude.
Yes. So that turned you off from even considering going to those schools because you anticipate if you did, they were going to be looking at you like, oh, you here now, huh? Okay, go sit over there.
Exactly.
That type of attitude. Yeah. So you made a great decision there.
Hmm.
So how did the art come into your life through your family? Was it first the piano or
The
violin?
first was the Art Institute of Chicago. They have a young artist studio, and it's on Saturdays.
Okay.
So I began there when I was 6.
Okay.
And then the piano became right around the same time.
Mhm.
And the violin was more like when I was 8.
Okay. So why did you switch your instruments, or you just decided
No,
to take another
then I had to
instrument?
do viola too, because I have large hands.
Okay.
And so the violin, when I
Yes.
was younger, my fingers fit on the
Oh,
neck
okay,
better. But
okay.
as I got older, you have more room on the viola.
Ah.
And the piano, I have perfect hands for the piano because I can stretch
Yes.
and do Rachmaninoff or
right.
something like that. And,
Yes.
Yeah.
So I know that you've performed on major stages around the country, around the world. Which was your most, I would say, accomplished venue or performance, or that you really felt very proud that you were there? And
I would always say to my parents, I'm modest, and they would say, you have a lot to be modest about.
Okay.
It's just to keep you under control.
Right, right.
But one that comes to mind, my teacher in high school was sending me to Northwestern for a workshop.
Okay.
And I said, oh, I'm not doing that. He says, it's a young artist workshop, all violinists and violists, and you are going to represent Crane High School. I said, I'm not doing that. He said, well, why not? I said, because of Alana Galembo and Joseph Alexis, who went to Sin and Von Steuben and all that,
right.
They weren't even accepted. So how did I get? And they take lessons right before me with Dame Nesta Smith. So how can? He said, you're going, and so is Hilton, and so I had to break down and go.
Okay.
And we had to bring, in etiquette, formal attire. That means only one thing: white tie, bow tie, piqué shirt and vest, tails.
Ah, okay.
Because at the end of the workshop, there was going to be a concert. And the director was Isaac Stern, the great Isaac Stern.
Well, I'm ignorant, but you say the great.
It's like being Leonard Bernstein.
Oh, okay. That name for me.
Great.
Okay. And where did you perform at again?
Well, this was at Northwestern, but the story goes this way. We go there, and they have us all waiting to be seated for the practicing. And this one girl, she was playing, and she dropped her bow.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness, my bow was $10,000. I thought, my whole violin only cost $5,000. And so then we all are being called up, and I said to Hilton, I'm not going to go up first, because they call you by first stand, second stand, third. I was going to play first violin, but in the last stand. I wasn't going to be sitting up next to Isaac Stern.
Right.
And they had people like Yo-Yo Ma. He wasn't around at that time, but great musicians sat in each of those divisions while you were playing to learn.
Ah, okay.
So I said, I'm sitting in the back. And so I did that. And then Isaac Stern said, do you have any questions as we went on? And the one girl here dropped her bow.
Yes.
She stood up, she says, I'm so good at what I do.
Oh, she
said,
the ego. Okay.
The ego. That's just a part of etiquette.
Yes.
That there's no one who can teach me.
Yes.
And Isaac Stern said, there are a million people who can teach you. You just have to find a teacher. Yes. And I recommend you check in Chicago with Nathan Wright. He threw out a name.
Yes, yes.
And I was so impressed with that he said, and my teacher, and you thought, how can this person have a teacher?
Right.
And so then he took his pen out of his baton out. He said, now, those people in the middle, stay where you are.
Okay.
But those people in the front of the orchestra, I want you to pivot around to the rear.
Okay.
And those people who are in the rear, you will pivot around to the front. Okay. So here I am with Hilton. We're sitting in the back. And I was under the baton of the great Isaac Stern for the concert.
Okay. Oh, wow. And
so modesty is important in etiquette as well.
Yes, yes. That's a key word. And it should be part of those very important words when you come to talking about etiquette. Modesty is very important.
One thing comes to mind, Nathan. I believe when you're invited to someone's home, and this is what I tell young people, what you do not want to do, you're invited for dinner. The last thing you want to do at Mrs. Johnson's home is to talk about Mrs. Manning's food.
Oh, wow. Of course not. Yeah, that's the last thing you would do. Wow. Well, we're down to the last minute, and we have so much to talk about. And I think this first session has been really extraordinary.
Well, you're kind.
And I'm so pleased to have this outstanding individual here with us today. And he has so much knowledge, and he's such an etiquette person that I certainly admire him and his life's work. And we're going to continue to talk about how etiquette plays a part in everything I do as well as he does. And some of the things that we need to express, we'll get to that on our next show.
The feeling's mutual.
Yes, well, thank you for being my guest. I really appreciate it, and we'll look forward to next Wednesday.
Thank you.
And with that said, you could put this on the overhead, and I'll just give our number out. It's 312-473-2942. And, of course, you can reach us at info@efo.org. Thank you again, and we will see you next Wednesday.